Hey guys, welcome back for block 12. This is going to be a similar kind of granny style where we're working in the round, but we're just going to have our patterns on the corners with some stitches called clusters. They're similar to a puff stitch, but a little smaller. It's going to help us work up to that really soon. So to get started, I have my adjustable ring with that slip stitch to help hold that down, and I'm just going to chain 2 to help build some height. So 1 and 2. Now we're going to get started straight with that cluster stitch. And what we're going to do here is yarn over, insert into the ring, yarn over, and pull back through. But instead of pulling through just to kind of anchor down, you're actually going to pull all the way up to the height of your chain 2. Now you should have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through just 2 of them. All right, and now we've got 2 on our hook still. We're going to leave those alone. So we're going to do that cluster motion again. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, and pull all the way up. And then yarn over and just pull through those 2. Okay, so now we have a good amount of yarn kind of built up. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of these loops. So in this case, our chain 2 is counting to help build some of that shape. And we're going to keep doing these clusters all the way around, but we'll do them 3 times instead of 2 because we're not going to have that chain 2 to help build up. So in between each cluster set, we're going to have 2. So let's chain 2. And then around each corner, we'll be chaining 5. So we'll get to that shortly. So let's do our next cluster. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, and pull all the way up to the height that we want. Okay, yarn over, pull through just those 2. Again, yarn over, let me untangle, insert, yarn over, and pull through all the way up, yarn over, pull through 2. Great, that was 2 times. We're going to do 3. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull all the way up, yarn over, pull through 2. So that was 3 times. We have 3 of these clusters. So now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of the loops on your hook. Very good. So this is our first set. So we've got, let me get the little tail out of the way. We have 2 of our clusters with a chain 2 in between. So now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to make another cluster set. So, get some of my grip here. Okay, yarn over, insert into the ring, yarn over, pull up. You only want it to be about as tall as these guys. Yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and 2 more times. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, up, pull through 2. All right, yarn over, pull through all 4, and we're going to chain 2 and make another set. Yarn over, up, yarn over, up. Oh, sorry. What I just started doing here is more like what we'll do in a puff stitch. We'll build a whole lot on there. That was a total accident. So I'm going to get rid of those last 2. Okay. So if I'd yarned over and pulled up just that one time like I was supposed to, yarn over, pull through 2. Here we go. Yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time. And pull through 2. Okay, so now yarn over and pull through everything on your hook. So the reason it's great that we are pausing in between and pulling through those two is when you yarn over and pull through everything on your hook and everything's really loose like that, you might get tangled your first few times trying it. So this is a good way to have a bit more of a containment up top. You'll also notice that you have a bit of a kind of a crisscross over up here, and it just makes a really cool, unique pattern. All right, so chain 5 for the corner. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up these last 2 sets a little faster, just so we can finish on the end of this round together. Okay, so I'm getting ready to start my 3rd set. We're going to have one more after this. So to finish off, we're going to slip stitch in the top of this original cluster. So here's my chain 2, here's that top of the cluster. Okay, and I want to get started in my corners. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to slip stitch my way over to this corner piece. So I've got 2 chains here. Going to slip stitch 2 times. 1, oops, totally lost it. That was 1, 2, and I'm going to slip stitch in the top of this cluster, 3, and then I'm lastly going to slip stitch in this open gap, 4. I'm going to tighten that down. All right, and to start row 2, we're going to go ahead and chain 2, just like we did to build height for our first cluster. And then we're also going to finish this like we did our first cluster. So we're going to yarn over, insert, pull up to that height, pull through those 2. Yarn over, insert and pull up, pull through those 2. And we're only doing that 2 times so that our chains can pretty much help finish out that cluster space. There we go. Don't know why I can't talk all of a sudden. All right, so for our corners from here on out, you're only going to do chain 3. You're not going to chain 5 anymore. That was just to help build the space we needed for row 1. So every other row, we're just going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And go ahead and finish out your second cluster. So yarn over and pull up, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up, pull through 2, and a third time, pull through 2. Go ahead and pull through all 4 on that loop to finish that cluster. And now we're going to work our way to these chain 2 spaces that we've made. So what we'll do first is chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to do 3 double crochets in the middle of these spaces. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and chain 2 to work our way to the next corner. And then go ahead and finish another cluster set with 3 chains in between. 1, 2, 3. Close it off. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so that second corner is done. And we are going to finish this same pattern all the way around. So again, we're going to chain 2, 3 double crochets in the chain 2 space from below. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's my 3. Chain 2. And guys, you're going to finish that pattern. So cluster set with 3 in between, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, cluster set, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and join me for the I've just done my last chain 2. I'm going to join that with a slip stitch at the top of this cluster. Whoops. Or I'm going to drop it off my hook. Here we go. Okay. And I'm going to slip stitch into this gap to set me up for my next row. Lulu, it's okay. I'll be right back. I'm going to write us up some notes for the rest of our rows that you can reference, and then we will get started with this whole pattern. All right, so we just left off with our slip stitch in this open space, and I have some notes for us to reference for the rest of the video. I'm going to do a little bit of this with you, and then I'm going to let you guys build on the rows on your own. So what this is saying is how each corner we're going to do our cluster, chain 3, and cluster. So let's go ahead and do that now. Your first one is going to have to include that chain 2, cluster, cluster, and bring them together. Chain 3, cluster, there's number 2, 3. Okay. And for the sides, we're going to chain 2, just like we did last time. And now for our double crochets, what we're always going to do is 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space from below. So here's my chain 2 space that I made last time. I'm going to do 2 double crochets right around those. 1, 2. And this is going to help add some width to these blocks. Okay, then it tells me to double crochets into the double crochets from below. So I have 3 of those. There's 1, 2, 3. And lastly, I want to do 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, and then finish this out with another chain 2. So here's that chain 2 space from below. There's 1, 2, and chain 2. And from there I'm working a corner. So I'll be back into this gap. I'm going to work another cluster set, turn, and then do the same thing that I just did for the sides. Now you're going to keep doing this over and over until you get to the size that you want. Every time you're doing your 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, you're adding 4 more double crochets to work into. So it's going to keep getting wider, and as it gets wider, it's going to keep staying nice and even and nice and flat. And then you're also adding 2 double crochets so that the next time you come around you have space to work into. So make sure that you pause this video, jot this down somewhere. You're just going to keep following these instructions until you get to the size of the block that you need. We are doing blocks that are about 8 inches by 8 inches, and then we will be bordering these with our 28 stitches around. I'll come back and show you guys my block when it's done. Thank you. Alrighty, so I ended up running out of this cool kind of shamrock colored yarn and had to switch over to a cream. But I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds total to meet the dimensions of the Sampler Series squares, if you are following along with that. One thing to quickly point out is you can really see this clustered texture a lot better on this smoother yarn. So hopefully that's a bit more of what you're ending up with on your end. And yeah, overall I hope you enjoyed it. Finishing off with the 28 single crochets and 3 in each corner. And then you are ready to move on to block number 13. We will see you soon. Bye.